And hello again, everyone. This is the next part of our discussion for History 231, Ancient Mediterranean World. This is section number 19, Rome and the Rise of Sasanid Persia. And we left off last time talking about these two fellows, Tansar and Kirdare, who are these Zoroastrian high priests during the Sasanian period. And of course, they are, well, how do I put this nicely, religiously intolerant. They believe there's only one right way to do Zoroastrianism. If you don't do it the right way, you're a heretic. If you don't do Zoroastrian at all, you're an unbeliever. And in both cases, they are obligated, they believe, to punish you, to be nasty to you. And if they can get the king of the Sasanian Persian Empire to listen to them, it means there's going to be religious persecution and intolerance in the Sasanian Persian Empire. So it all depends on whether these priests can get the king, the high king of the Sasanian Persians, to back their plans to push away all other sorts of religious belief. And that's an interesting problem here, because it's something that you've never seen in Zoroastrianism before. Never before have we seen Zoroastrians persecute other religions or even members of their own religion for disagreeing with them. But it happens starting with these guys. So this is interesting. And one of the guys who really sets our friend Kirdare off, and really does set him off in a big way, is a fellow named Mani. And Mani is the founder of Manichaeanism. And he's one of the most important religious thinkers, really, of all time. Manichaeanism is going to influence a lot of other religious traditions, including Christianity, even Judaism. And so this is a very important idea. So what is Manichaeanism and where does it come from? Well, this comes from, again, our friend Mani. And Mani is a really interesting guy. He had physical problems. He always had sort of physical problems. We're told he was born lame, so he may have had constant pain. He may have been in chronic pain, and chronic pain is no joke. It's a serious, serious problem today, and it's something that we all have to attend with at some point. But chronic pain is not the same as acute pain. Acute pain is you break your arm, it goes ouch, 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 and believe me, I've broken it. Heck, I've broken this arm 7 times. So I know broken arms, and they hurt like heck. And so you go to the hospital, they get an x-ray, they set the break, you put you in a cast, and the pain pretty much goes away. That's what you call acute pain. Chronic pain is more like arthritis. Chronic pain is constant pain. It's hard to get rid of it. It's very hard. You have to learn to deal with it. And there's various ways people deal with it. Today in the United States, we have a terrible problem because people have been treating chronic pain with opioids. And opioids are a very, very bad idea for chronic pain. They're very useful for acute pain. I know because I've had to take them for acute pain, but don't ever take them for chronic pain, all right? Because the cure there is worse than the disease, right? They're fine for acute pain. They're fine if you break your leg and you need to have a good night's sleep and you take an opioid once, and that's okay. But if you take them every day and you keep doing it, you're going to become addicted, and it's a problem. That's chronic pain. And the trouble is that pain management doctors today, they have a heck of a time dealing with chronic pain. How do you deal with pain that just keeps coming and coming and coming? Well, Mani appears to have had chronic pain. He was lame. He had physical problems. And this may have contributed to what we can only say is an amazingly pessimistic view of the world. Mani's view of the universe is not pleasant. It's very, very harsh. It's very, very bad. Now, again, it's based upon a combination of Christian and Zoroastrian principles, right? His parents, all right, his parents were Persian Christians. We haven't gotten to Christianity yet, but we will get to it next time. But his parents were Persian Christians, but he's heavily influenced by Zoroastrian beliefs. And these mixture causes him to come up with really his own religious ideas. And what he tells us is that he had a revelation. Now, we've seen this before. Revelations are real. They actually happen to people, all right? They happen a lot more often than you might think. And he says, I had a revelation, and that revelation told me that I should stop having sex, I should stop eating meat, and I should stop drinking wine. In other words, 3 of the more fun things you can do in the ancient world, he says you shouldn't do. And he says, I stopped doing those things after my revelation. And what he does is he starts a religion. He starts a religion called Manichaeanism. And Manichaeanism is actually one of the most important religious traditions, again, in human history. And it incorporates Christian ideas along with Zoroastrian ideas and mixes them together and comes up with a very interesting thing that comes out of it. And here's what it says. All right? Here's the basis of Manichaeanism. The world and the universe suck. That's basically it. All right? Everything sucks. This universe right here, you and me and all the stuff, the physical stuff we live in, it all sucks. It's all bad. It's all bad. Now, this is a shift. The way Zoroastrianism works, right? Traditional Zoroastrianism has a basic idea, and this is it. It says, hey, there's good and there's evil, and they are in conflict. Good and evil are in conflict. Good is, of course, Ahura Mazda. Evil is Ahriman or Angramaynu, and they're in constant conflict. And your moral behavior influences this conflict. So if you help little olays across the street, you're helping Ahura Mazda, you're a good person. If you knock them down, grab their purse, you're helping Angramaynu, you're a bad person. Right? And in the end, Zoroastrianism believes you will be basically judged based on whether or not you did more Asha, which is goodness, as opposed to Drug, which is badness. So I always say don't do drugs, right? So this is the basic idea behind Zoroastrianism, and it's a fairly positive, uplifting sort of religion because it's based on the idea that you should do good because that means you help the good part of the universe. Here's what Mani says. Mani says, Drug, badness, evil, won. The world around us, all around us, physical things, including my friend Homer here, physical things are bad. And that includes nice food, nice wine, sex, all those things which are theoretically good are actually bad. They have been corrupted completely, he says, by Drug, by evil. In other words, evil won the day. Well, that's kind of a downer. That really is kind of a downer. So how do we get out of this? Because this is the thing, if all you have in your religious beliefs is nothing but bad news and a downer, no one's going to want to sign up. Let's face it, it's pretty miserable. So here's what Mani says. He says, we've been trying to get out of this horrible situation, well, for a very long time, and Jesus tried to help us get out of it, but he didn't succeed, right? He was unable to make it happen here. And so how do we get out of this? We have to liberate the one good thing that's left. And what is the one good thing that's left? The soul, the spirit. That's still good. We have to liberate the spirit from all the bad stuff that is all around it, namely the physical world. So the physical world is bad and the spirit is good. We must liberate the spirit from the physical world. And this is what we have to do. This is what he says. All right? So it's a very pessimistic worldview, but it's not one that is totally hopeless, because those never really go anywhere, right? So he says there is hope, but it's going to be tough, and you have to liberate your spirit. Now, he meets Shapur I in 243 AD. So he meets Shapur I, and apparently Mani was a pretty good salesman, because Shapur says, that's interesting. That sounds like an interesting idea. Now, Shapur I was one of those cosmopolitan emperors of the Sasanian Persian Empire. And so he's like, well, that's interesting. Yeah, why don't you go tell people about this? All right? And so what he does is he goes running around and he tells people about this, and he's telling people about his idea. And you know what? He must have been a heck of a salesman, because people start saying, I think you got a point there, Mani. I think I like what you have to say. And his ideas and the religion that comes from them, Manichaeanism, begin to spread. And they will spread all the way to China. They will spread all into the Roman world. These ideas caught on, and they caught on in a big way over time. Mani is one of the most important religious thinkers of all time, and his influence, again, on other religions is huge. So keep that in mind. So that's great if you have the backing of the king, namely Shapur I. And Mani wrote this stuff down. He was smart enough to know you got to write this stuff down, you got to disseminate this stuff, and he had this stuff translated, so it wasn't just written in one language, it was translated in lots of other languages, and it starts to spread. It starts to spread. All right? And it was just enough like Zoroastrianism that people kind of recognized the ideas, even though Mani had taken them in an entirely new direction. So that's an interesting sort of thing. Meanwhile, Kirdir is watching this happen. Now remember, Kirdir is a radical, intolerant, orthodox Zoroastrian. So what he believes is, in fact, that Ahura Mazda is going to win, and goodness will win. Even though Kirdir himself was not a very nice guy, he did believe goodness would win. And here's this guy, Mani, saying, no, goodness already lost. So he hates Mani. Oh my gosh, he loathed the man. But there's nothing he can do about it, because Shapur I says, I'm going to let this guy talk. And that means the guy's going to spread his ideas. So, well, guess what, all right? Kildare just sits and he stews and he stews and he stews. And eventually, well, Shapur dies. And Mani is vulnerable. And Kildare gets a hold of him. And he tortures him slowly and horribly to death. Kildare was mad. He was pissed off. And that is really bad for Mani. Now I'm going to give you some career advice. Here's an interesting thing I've noticed about people who found religions. Historically, through the history of the human race, people who start new religions, it's a very high-risk thing to do because they often upset somebody enough that person kills them. And people who found new religions are often killed in horrible ways as a result. About the only exception to this in major religions I can think of is Muhammad. All right, Muhammad with Islam, he actually died of old age. He died in his sleep. All right, whereas all these other people that start new ideas and new religions, they paid terribly physically for it. All right, so that's a bit of a career advice for you here. A bit of career advice here. So this is interesting, but there's something else going on as well. Remember, Zoroastrianism is not staying static either. So even as Manichaeanism is running around and spreading, Zoroastrianism is changing too. And a new idea has come into Zoroastrianism, and it was an idea that the Sasanian Persians often really liked, and it was called Zurvanism, and I've given it a star. And Zurvanism is based on some interesting ideas. It's not really done, as far as I know, in Zoroastrianism today. Now, if any of you are Zoroastrians, please come and see me. I'd love to have a chat with you. But Zurvanism is an interesting idea, because what it says is this. Okay, you've got Ahura Mazda, he's goodness. He's Asha. You've got Angramanyu, Akraman. He's Drug. He's bad. You got these two opposite guys. Here's the question. Where did they come from? That's a good question, right? Where did they come from? What Zurvanism says is there's a higher, up here, there's a higher idea, which is time itself. Zurvan is time. Remember, abstract ideas can be made into gods in this system, right? So Zurvanism says there's this higher thing, which is time itself, and that's Zurvan, and that is the creator of both Ahura Mazda and Angramanyu. Good and evil come ultimately from time. It's a really interesting idea. Right? It, of course, doesn't answer the much bigger question of then where does Zurvan come from. You can get caught up in this. It's like, where did the original come from? Well, I don't know. But this is a good question. But anyway, so this is what we see, right? This is what we see here. So Shapur I is succeeded by his son Hormizd, all right? And this increases Kirdar's power. He gets a hold of our poor friend Mani. He tortures him horribly to death, etc., etc., etc. All right? And meanwhile, the Sasanian Persian Empire is expanding its power, and it's giving the Romans no end of misery and trouble. All right? It's pushing this increasing orthodoxy of Zoroastrianism as its basic way of operating. That's a part of the state increasingly now. All right, and this is a really interesting thing. Our friend Kildare talks about this. He says, hey, I was founding lots of sacred fires. Now, sacred fires are basic to Zoroastrianism. The sacred fire works like this. You keep it burning. I saw a documentary many years ago that somewhere in Iran, there are Zoroastrians. There's still some Zoroastrians in Iran today, all right? And they have this fire that they have been feeding wood to, keeping it burning for about 1,000 years, I think it was. It was unbelievable how long this fire had been burning in Iran, even today. So Zoroastrians, fire is a basic part of their belief system, like the sacredity, the sacrality of fire and this sort of thing. And Kildare says, I founded lots of sacred fires here. Lots and lots of sacred fires. All right? Now, by the time of Shapur II, the next Shapur, the guy with the star, Zoroastrianism now is firmly established as the state religion of the Sasanian Persian Empire. All right, and we really start seeing this strong orthodoxy. There is a correct way to do Zoroastrianism. In Shapur II, we really do start seeing the pushing of this sort of thing here. All right, and we see this, of course, in many of their texts. All right, so let me read you one here. Religious intolerance becomes an issue here. Let me read this for you. King of Kings, Shapur, son of Hormizd, this is Shapur II, summoned men from all regions to an unprejudiced disputation to examine and investigate all utterances. All right, over the triumph of Adubad, through his tested utterance, all right, all over all other groups, schools, and sects, he made this declaration. Now that we have seen the faith as it truly is, we shall not tolerate anyone of false religion, and we shall be exceedingly zealous. And he did even so, end quote. In other words, what we're seeing here is the development of a Zoroastrian orthodoxy that persecutes Zoroastrians who are not Orthodox. And this is going to be a feature that we see. And we're going to see this again once Christianity in the Roman Empire takes a certain direction as well. And this is a very important point, all right? The emergence and idea of a Zoroastrian orthodoxy, the idea of a correct way of doing a particular religion, starts to emerge really in this time period. All right, this time period. And we see persecutions of Jews in Sasanian Persian. We see persecution of Buddhists. There are a few Buddhists sneaking over from India, and they get kicked out right away, so they don't really go anywhere. All right, so this is a really interesting kind of thing here. We start to see these radical changes with the Sasanian Persian Empire. And that, of course, is a very big deal because a similar process is going to happen in Rome. And here's what I wonder, and I don't have an answer to this. I don't know if this is the case or not. This is speculation. But I have to wonder if the Roman emperors, watching their own empire go through such trouble during this time, I mean, they were in real trouble, didn't take a look at the Sasanian Persians and say to themselves, you know what? By having one religion in charge of everything, maybe that's one of the reasons they're doing well and we're not. Maybe what we need to do is find some religion, pick one, doesn't matter, find a religion, pick one, and use it as an orthodoxy to get people on board, cooperating, and make our empire strong too. I don't know if this is what the Romans were thinking. We have no way of knowing. They didn't tell us, all right? But it's a very interesting thing because Christianity, at this same time, is going to go from being a minor, obscure sect of people who practice their religion in the sewers, literally, to the big major state religion of Rome. And it happens almost overnight, and we have to wonder what the heck's going on there. But that is a cliffhanger for you, because next time we're going to talk about how that will happen and what happens in Rome after this 50-year crisis that they had entered, where they were really nearly done in. The Roman Empire nearly ceased to exist in this 50-year period, and that is going to change everything. And that's our cliffhanger. So, in the meantime, be safe, be well, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, be nice, all those good things, and I hope you are all well, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.